Are you feeling like a zombie lately? Tired of the same old energy drinks promising the world but delivering the jitters and a crash? Look no further than Sneak Energy, your secret weapon for all your energy needs. With all natural ingredients, Sneak will give you all the energy you need to boost through your day without feeling like a lab rat on caffeine. Don't believe us? Try it yourself and see what a difference it can make to your routine. So what are you waiting for? Hit the link in the description and pick up your Sneak starter pack today. Now enjoy the clip. Chelsea don't work hard enough when they have to win the ball back quickly, says DK. You do wonder whether these... I mean, look, it's no excuse for any manager, but you do wonder whether some of these players are actually working for the manager. And that, you know, I can say give him time, you can say give him time, but if the players aren't working for the manager, then it doesn't matter how much time he should get. And Manchester United Club says these players don't care for Potter. Said it before, Potter is incompetent. Well, I think that's a bit harsh, mate. I mean, he's consistently been very good at Brighton. He's a very, very good coach. You can say that the players don't fancy him, but I don't think there's any evidence that he's a bad coach. You can say that Chelsea job's too big for him. I mean, I remember actually, fair point, I remember this being asked of me on the United Stand probably 18 months ago when we were looking at a manager, and some people were saying, oh, I'd love Potter at Man United. And I said, look, there's no doubt Potter's a good coach, but could you imagine bringing Potter in and having Cristiano Ronaldo? Like, Graham Potter, hello, I've managed Brighton. Yeah, well, I've won it all. That's something you can't account for. You can be a big fish in a small pond, but can you be a big fish in a big pond or sea or ocean? That's always... It's like Jack Grealish, isn't it, from Aston Villa? Aston Villa, he was the focal point of the team. He was a big fish in a big pond, in a small pond. And then he goes to Man City and it's a different level. Players were playing for Arteta. Potter looks lost, says English Talent FC. Yeah. I'm Chris Smalling, says Jar Bar Drinks. I've done a few videos on this channel saying you've got to give him time. You've got to give him until next season. But I think you can give a manager time when you are drawing or, you know, progressing slightly and maybe the results aren't what you want. But you can't... You're going to always have a problem if you're losing at home to Southampton, who are going to get relegated. That's not about time. That's a question mark. And it's a very big question mark. Why, with all the players we've got, can we not beat Southampton? And that won't be seen as giving time. So, you know, I'd agree with that. Southampton have got more possession than you at home. That's not good enough. They've had more shots than you, and you're at home. I'm sorry, that's not good reading. And that's not me saying it's time to get rid of Potter. But what it is me saying is that I've said you've got to give him time. You've not had a pre-season. There's been a lot of injuries. But I look at that team today and I go, well, your midfield hasn't got Loftus-Cheek in it. It's got Enzo Fernandez and Kovacic. You've got Mudryk, João Felix, Mason Mount and Fofana as a front four. Chilwell is playing. Badiashile is playing. You know, that does not reflect... And you need to win games. That doesn't make any sense to me why Chelsea are not having more possession and not having more shots at home. They look really poor. So there is an issue there. And you've got to improve. Look, it's a 90-minute game. If I'm speaking to them at half-time, Mudryk is not playing, he's on the bench. Madueke's playing, sorry. It's M&M, isn't it? But it's still, you know, Mudryk hasn't really done anything because he's on the bench. Madueke, sorry, has not really done anything. So I think that look, there's still time for Chelsea to turn it around. But if this game finishes in a loss, it's very difficult to, even as an outsider, say, well, look, you know, it's ridiculous that he's getting criticised. There's so much work to do at Chelsea. You can't lose at home to a relegation side. You just cannot do that. You've got to do better. So, you know, he will face a lot of pressure. I don't think they're going to sack him. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think that should happen. But If you can't beat Southampton at home, then where are your results going to come from? Pochettino would be obvious for Chelsea, says David. Well, look, it's never good when there's a manager available. We had this with Solskjaer and Pochettino a couple of times. Treble Champ says, a cautionary tale for United fans. The issue is the owners at Chelsea, not the players or the staff. And the owners have to give some thought on giving a pre-season to Potter if he can't even get this team to play to win against Southampton, says Speedwagon. Also, can I just say as well, this has got nothing to do with the manager at Chelsea, and we may have Chelsea fans watching, we may not, but it's still a very good observation, even if I say so myself. What plan is your new owners if they come in, spend a couple of £100 million on Tuchel, and then sack him within a month of the window closing, spend £300 million on Potter, and then sack him within a month of the January transfer window closing? That's £500 million spent on players and 2 managers sacked. You're making the job harder every manager you bring in. Because if you did sack Potter and brought Pochettino in next week, which I don't think will happen, but if it did, Pochettino walks in and goes, so I've got Koulibaly, Cucurella, Sterling, and Aubameyang that I can even think of that were Tuchel players. And now I've got Mudryk, João Felix on loan, Enzo Fernandez, Madueke, Fofana, who were Potter's signings. Yeah, and we're going to give you another 300 million. This is a mess. I can't work like this. And you're going to give me 300 million pounds, and then when it doesn't work, you're going to sack me after a month. You're creating a mess. You're creating an absolute mess. And then I've got all the players that were here before. I've got all the players that Tuchel bought that didn't get to use. And then you've got all the players that Potter bought that didn't get to use. And now you're bringing me in. This is chaos. This is absolute chaos. So you've got to look at the way that Chelsea's being run as well, because maybe it will get to a point where they do need to make a manager change, but it won't hide the fact that that would be a third manager in one season with an £500 million spend. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. The dressing room must be miserable, says Red. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think this is the first time I've watched Chelsea properly in a couple of weeks. And when I saw the team news came out, I thought, ooh, that's a good side. It's better than it has looked. And then there's absolutely no cohesion. There's no chemistry. There's no rhythm. And that's always a worry because, you know, some of those players are good players. I've seen Kovacic play well, Enzo Fernandez, João Felix. There's some good players there, but it's just not working. Big Man's a Southampton fan. Do you think you'll stay up, Mark? Well, the way you've played today, you might stay up because it's the best I've seen you play in weeks. But how much is that down to how bad Chelsea are? You know, you should have been 1-0 up very early. You're 1-0 up just before half time, and at the moment, you'd almost be disappointed that you're not 2-0 up. Eddie Howe would win the Premier League with Potter's team. Don't agree with that, but there you go. Chelsea are doing a bit of a PSG. Well, you know, this is something we've been talking about as United fans for quite a while. You've got to look at the ownership model sometimes. PSG, owned by Qatar looking to buy Man United. I've been saying this for the last couple of days. The PSG model's a crap model. It is a crap model. It hasn't worked. It's a Galactico Real Madrid model from the early noughties. That's not the manager buying players, that's the owner buying players. And then they want to win the Champions League. Oh, we're not winning the Champions League. Let's sack another manager. Let's give, you know, Mbappe a stupid contract. They're just constructing, they're not constructing a team, they're just spending money. And you've got to have a plan. And a plan must always be led by what the manager wants. The manager picks the team. It's very hard if you're a certain type of manager and, you know, you're being gifted this superstar and that superstar, but they don't